How are you doing today? I'm FrankieG The Cooking Cowboy. In today's recipe, I'm taking you halfway around the world, or maybe a couple of blocks away if you want to go to your Chinese restaurant. What am I making for you? Beef with broccoli. And I'm going to serve that on a bed of rice. Now the rice I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to do it in the rice cooker, but the rest of the recipe is all made from scratch. So let's get started. Let's go see the ingredients we're going to need to make this. What you're going to need is 3/4 cup plus 1 tablespoon and 1 teaspoon of oyster sauce, 1 tablespoon and 2 teaspoons of Asian toasted sesame oil, 3/4 cup plus 1 tablespoon and 1 teaspoon of sherry, 2½ teaspoons of soy sauce, 2½ teaspoons of white sugar, 2½ teaspoons of cornstarch, 2 pounds of beef steak. Well, I'm using sirloin, cut into 1-inch thick strips, 1/3 cup and 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, plus more if needed. 2½ thin slices of fresh ginger root, 2½ cloves of garlic, peeled and smashed, 2½ pounds of broccoli cut into florets. So let's get started. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to take the oyster sauce, the sesame oil, the sherry, the soy sauce, the sugar, and the cornstarch, and we're going to mix that all together. I already have it pre-measured on the side, so let me grab that bowl. Personally, I like using the motion blender because that incorporates all the ingredients better. So let's get that started. I dig my gadgets. Let's push the cutting board on the side a little. Ooh. So you're going to want to make sure that all the ingredients are mixed well, because this is the marinade for the beef. Okay, that's mixed real well. Let's get the blender into the sink. Let's push this off on the side for a minute. I have my cutting board here. Now I want to slice the meat. I've already pre-trimmed the meat, so it's just easier to do. Now a little tip for you: you want to take your meat and put it in the freezer for about 45 minutes, no longer than an hour. This way you don't want it frozen, but it stiffens up just a little bit, and it's a lot easier to slice it thinner. So I like to do this with the grain. And the sharper the knife, the better. Just be careful of your fingers. See how nice and thin I can get it? Just be careful of your fingers. The thinner you slice it, the faster it's going to cook. And try to be consistent in your cuts. You don't want some of the meat thicker than the others, because this way it's not going to cook evenly and you're really going to struggle. Some of it's going to be cooked good, some of it's going to be overcooked. So be consistent. So as I'm slicing it, I'm going to put it right into the marinade. This way I have plenty of room on my cutting board. Again, I'm cutting with the grain. I've heard people say cut against the grain, cut with the grain. You know what? Chef Ramsay told me it's better to cut with the grain. I'll take his word on it. So now that I've got all the meat sliced, what you want to do is you just want to put a lid on it, and get it in the fridge, and let it marinate for about a half hour, and maybe 30 minutes. So let's get that lid on it. I'm going to shake it up a little bit. Make sure the lid's on good. So now it's all mixed well. Everything's all coated evenly. Let's get it in the fridge for about a half hour. So now that we've got the meat all cut, the meat's in the fridge, you can let that sit and marinate for about a half hour. Let's get this cutting board clean, and then we can start cutting up the broccoli. So now I've got the cutting board cleaned off, the meat cleaned off, I've got the beef in there marinating. I want to steam my broccoli separately. Some people like to put it in the wok and cook it in the oil in the wok to absorb some of that flavors. You really don't need to do that. It's a lot of work. It can get messy. The wok is not quite big enough for the broccoli, and it's just easier, and it comes out just as good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the pot over here so we can get started. Again, I like to use this double pot. There's about a quart of water in the bottom, and this way we can just use this to steam the broccoli. We're going to need about 2.5 pounds of broccoli. Let's get that out of the bag. A little bit off to the side. And I like to cut it just below the heads. I don't like stems, so I cut it just below. Some people say it's a waste. Maybe so, but it's the way I like it. Throw that in the pot. Get out of your way. And just repeat for the rest of the heads. Or in this case, they're called crowns. Where do you think you guys are going? No, you're going in the pot too. Put those in there. Throw this out. Get out of the way. Let's get this cleaned off. So now I've got the broccoli cut. Let's get the lid on it. Bring it over to the stove. And that's that for the broccoli. We're just going to let it sit there because we're still marinating that beef. So what we're going to do next is we're going to prepare the ginger root and the garlic. Now all you want to do with this stuff is you want to use it for flavoring in the oil. You put it in the oil for about 30 seconds, let it sizzle in that nice hot wok for about 30 seconds. After that, you want to strain it out and then put the oil back in the wok, and then it's ready for the beef. So let's get that going. Now for the ginger, what we're going to want to do is we're going to slice some thin slices. As thin as possible is good. So now we've got that done. We put that off on the side, and we want to get the garlic. Again, you want to just take the side of your knife, give it a good whack. So that's easier to get the skin off the outside. And then I give it a good little chop. You don't have to hit that hard. You don't have to hit that soft either. Good smash. And a good chop. So now I've got the ginger root and the garlic all ready to go. It's a waiting game. We're just waiting for that meat to marinate. So it's been about 15 minutes now that it's been marinating. We've got about another 15 minutes to go. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to get the rice cooker started because that takes about 35 minutes to cook. So let's get that going. And the rice is on. So now we're ready to go. So now that I've got the rice cooker on, I've got the meat marinating, I've got the broccoli ready to go. It's just a waiting game right now. So what time is it? It's Cabernet Sauvignon time. It's amazing how this cup is always there when you need it. Uh-oh. Looks like we're gonna have to go get more later. Salute. That is the magic ingredient. So it's been about a half hour. I'm getting ready to get the meat out of the refrigerator. So let's get this broccoli done. So when I'm cooking the broccoli, I don't want it mushy. I don't want it too crunchy and raw. I want it to be just a little softer than normally that you get it from the restaurants though. It's just the way I like it. So let's go get that meat out of the fridge. Do one more shake. Everything looks coated evenly. Let's get a little taste of that marinade. I'm telling you, this recipe's a keeper. This marinade is to die for. You're gonna want to recreate this recipe. So let's get started on the meat. Let's get going by the stove. You want to go with a medium-high heat, and you want to let the wok get hot first before you add the oil. Again, this way you don't burn the oil. Today, I'm using avocado oil because it's much more healthy, better for you, and because my wife said so. So now that the wok is hot, now we want to add our oil. Again, I'm using a little over 2/3 of a cup. Okay, now we've let the oil get nice and hot. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the garlic and the ginger root. You hear that sizzle? That sizzle's a thing of beauty. So again, all we're doing here is we're flavoring the oil. You want to cook this garlic and this ginger root for about a minute. And after that's done, we're going to strain it out and then put the oil back in the pan. You're also going to want something, because this is called stir fry. Always be prepared. I know what you're thinking. Hey, FrankieG, how are you going to strain the oil? A little pot and a strainer, of course. So it's been about a minute. The garlic is golden brown. The ginger root is nice and toasty. Let's get that strained. Get the strained oil back in. And if you have to, strain it a second time. Which in this case we do. So now we want to add the meat to the pan. Put that on the side. And then we stir fry. Now you want to keep constantly stirring, because this way you want the meat to brown, but you don't want it to overcook. Okay, we got that mixed in real good. We got the initial burn. Let's let that sit for a minute. Let's let it do its magic. Now you're only going to need this in there about 5 or 6 minutes, because it cooks real quick. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove it from the heat, and then we're going to add the broccoli to it. Now it's starting to bubble already, so you just want to mix that up a little bit. I made this last weekend and it came out so good that they asked Dad, please make it again. So I'm making it again. But this time, it's documented. It's on film. Now that the wok is getting nice and hot, and notice I'm constantly stirring it, because you really don't want to let it sit. You really have to stay on top of this. Let's get a taste of the broccoli. Be careful, don't burn yourself. The broccoli's almost ready. It needs a couple more minutes. Let's get a taste of that meat. It's almost ready. Matter of fact, I'm taking it off the heat right now. Pushing it off to the side. Now we're just waiting on that broccoli. So the meat is pretty much just about done. I don't want it to overcook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer it into a bowl. Get it off that heat so it doesn't overcook. Let's test the broccoli again. I think the broccoli's got a good consistency. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it off the heat, get it in the wok, add the meat, stir fry it up, and we're ready to go. Let's add the meat back in. Let's mix it together. I'm going to put it back on the heat just a little bit. Okay, so now that it's mixed well, let's remove it from the heat. Sit it on the side there for a minute, and let's wait for that rice, and then we're ready to go. Okay, so everything's ready to go. So let's get some rice on the plate, get a little bit of beef and broccoli on top, and let's get a taste. Again, only using the best paper. Okay, now we've got some rice. Let's add some beef or broccoli. All right, let's get a taste. The beef is cooked to perfection. The broccoli is tender, but not mushy. And the rice is beautiful. This is one recipe you're going to want to recreate in your kitchen. So until next time, this is FrankieG signing off. But don't forget, hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so you get a notification every time I got a new video out there. All right? See you next time.